I don't know if you thought about this, but not all creative use of AI is equal. There are levels to this game. And today I decided to talk about 4 different levels of creative AI mastery. I think it can be really useful. First of all, for yourself to identify where you're at the moment, but also to get an overview of what's out there, what's possible. So when you will be working on your next creative AI project, you can identify which level is actually the one. So it really doesn't matter whether you're just dipping your toes into generative AI or you're already training your own AI models. There are levels to the game. Think of it as a roadmap. It doesn't matter whether you're at level 1, where AI is doing most of the heavy lifting, or level 4, where you're programming your own workflows. All of these levels are valid and they have their place. It really depends on your use case, what you're building, and not for every project it's necessary to go all the way to level 4, which is the most time-consuming, resource-demanding, and technically most advanced level that there is. So by the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand and whether you need to level up your creative AI game or not. All right, level 1. This is where most people start. I call it the baking mix level. So these are the AI tools that promise to deliver incredible results with no effort. So they're like those cake mixes that say, just add an egg. Adding a fresh egg into the pre-made baking mix was a genius marketing strategy. It actually managed to elevate the feeling of ownership of the otherwise very pre-designed process. And don't take me wrong, this is not a criticism of AI tools at this particular level. I'm just trying to explain that at this level, the human input is minor. But it's okay, we all use AI at this level. Not everything has to be made from scratch. And especially now, this new era that AI is bringing is requiring us to be able to identify the right places for the human input. So basically where it still makes sense to use humans or where it makes sense to use our human creativity, which is precious and we don't have so much time and there's so much work, we need to create so much content and so on. So where does it actually really matter to add this fresh egg? So these would be the use cases where you're not creating any kind of creative AI workflow. You're not imagining any new creative use of AI, and you're not envisioning how this process is going to evolve. You just want AI to accomplish one simple task, which is sometimes an overkill. These are tools that promise complete products, such as logos, entire designs, or a whole marketing copy at the push of a button. A lot of these apps simplify very complex creative processes to the point of overselling of what AI can actually achieve. Another problem is that these tools often run hidden adjustments behind the scenes to ensure that the outcome looks really good. Then you don't know how much your input, the egg, actually matters. So was it your creative touch or was it just the app doing its thing? And what you can also notice if you go through some of these, they often rely on pre-designed assets and presets, which limit customization and originality. If you're at this level, please don't get discouraged. It's a great starting point, and sometimes it's all you're gonna need. But maybe start paying attention to the tool's limitations. Ask yourself, am I really directing the process or am I just following the tool's lead? Is the outcome satisfactory for my use case, or do I need to have a bigger level of creative control over the process? And if you realize you need a bigger level of control, you might want to consider level 2. Level 2, the IKEA level. At this stage, you're combining elements, tweaking outputs, and making decisions. You are assembling the pieces yourself within a pre-designed structure, but the instructions can sometimes leave you, well, frustrated. It's a little bit like using this awkward IKEA L-shaped tool to assemble your vision. You know, it works, but it's just awkward. But it's the state of the art, and it is definitely possible to achieve professional results with these tools. Here, I'm talking about tools like Midjourney, Adobe Firefly, Runway, Leonardo AI. So there are definitely some challenges at this level. And again, it's a lack of precise control. So for example, Midjourney might give you stunning results, but good luck trying to adjust a tiny detail. On the other hand, Adobe Firefly is free and it actually works quite well. So it's definitely possible to achieve professional results with this. It is adjusted for creative use because it's made by Creative Cloud, Adobe, but it's heavily censored. Why it matters? Well, try to generate a nude background for your makeup product photo. Good luck. So mastering this level means improving your AI literacy, and you have to learn what works and what doesn't, often by trial and error. I recommend diving into forums, experimenting with prompts, and start thinking critically about your outputs. And my personal advice is think in workflows. So what I mean by that, don't just get immersed in one tool, but try imagining to chain inputs and outputs in between different tools. Like for example, you can pre-generate style reference images in Midjourney and then take them to Adobe Firefly, for example. This is where creativity shines. All right, but what if it turns out to not be enough? Well, then you might need a level 3, which is a culinary artistry. You could call it following recipes. You can imagine it like when you're really into cooking and you're following a recipe. So instead of relying on pre-made baking mixes and ready-to-assemble parts, here you're following recipes and maybe even tweaking them to suit your needs. So at this level, you're stepping away from the tools like Midjourney, Firefly, Leonardo, OpenArt, and such, and you start working with AI models. So what does it mean? Behind every AI tool, there is an AI model. Some AI tools are using more AI models. And if you're curious to know a bit more about AI models, which are currently accessible, I designed a creative AI brainstorming card, and I have AI models card deck combined with AI tools card deck that's coming out soon, very soon. Here, you're not just cooking your meal, you are actually deciding how much salt and pepper and other spices is going into your meal, because somehow the recipe didn't say it. It's up to you. So here you're running your AI workflow in the cloud or locally on your own computer, and it gives you much more control over your inputs, outputs, and the whole creative direction. So for example, we are talking here about running Stable Diffusion locally for more personalized image generation, or using Google Colab to run open source models, utilizing LoRa's and community trained checkpoints, fine-tuning your own model, or running a workflow in Comfy UI. So this is Comfy UI, a modular interface for Stable Diffusion. You can drag and drop components to create your own workflows. It's like customizing a recipe to suit your creative taste. For starting to play with Comfy UI, I recommend accessing it via Run Comfy website, where you can run it in the cloud for a few cents per hour. And you can choose from a variety of workflows already available there. And Google Colab is like experimental kitchen for creators. It's not as beginner friendly, but it lets you play with cutting edge tools. Google Colab used to be quite a place to go for me in the few years back, especially when text to image was not public yet. There was DALL-E by OpenAI, but it was not made public. So at the time, what I was using was a combination of VQGAN and Clip in Google Colab, or alternative StyleGAN with Clip. It was an open source free implementation of the very same principle that's behind DALL-E, and then later all the other text-to-image models. So it definitely takes more time, it's more difficult, it requires more effort and knowledge, but payoff, you're no longer at mercy of AI quirks that much. You're the one calling the shots. So advice for the beginners. Start with pre-built workflows. Go to communities like Hugging Face and Reddit, where you can find some shared workflows you can adapt for your needs. And once you master these, you can start making some adjustments, eventually make your own workflows, which would elevate you to the level 4. And this can feel intimidating at first, but you will find yourself in a completely different space, and you will be able to realize much bigger creative potential behind generative AI. And the more you practice, the more freedom you'll get. I must warn you, but it can become addictive, and at some point you might want to create your own workflows. Level 4. Level 4 is still part of culinary artistry, but I call it grow your own ingredients. This is the highest level. Why? Because it requires you to grow your own ingredients. So you would not order them, you would not buy them at the grocery store. You have a garden and you're planting the seeds and you're waiting till it grows, you're taking care of the plant, and then you're harvesting. So it's not just cooking with a recipe, it's planting the seeds, it's nurturing them and creating something unique. Eventually it's about obsessing about having everything at your own fingertips, knowing exactly what's inside of the tools, and like having the full control. At this stage, you're creating your own AI models, you're designing your unique workflows and training new algorithms to suit your needs. For example, building your own real-time generative pipeline. This level actually requires quite some programming skills, knowledge of machine learning, and access to powerful graphic cards. But as in return, you will be able to create your own bespoke creative AI solutions. It's important to say that this level is not necessary for most of the creators, but it's essential if you're developing tools, integrations, implementations, or highly customized solutions. And there's a challenge, of course. It's really time-consuming and resource-intensive. And if you're someone who wants to push boundaries, whether it's in design, art, engineering, this is the level for you. Even if this level sounds daunting, please don't worry. Very few people need to reach this state. And also, I often encourage people to think of rather finding someone to collaborate with, to be able to, team up with programmers. You don't need to learn all of this yourself, but it's good to have the awareness that it's there, that this option exists, that you are not limited by what your favorite generative AI tool offers you. You're not relying on subscriptions because at this stage you're probably running everything locally, stuff like that. So then when I'm using this culinary artistry metaphor, does it mean that this level has a Michelin star? But here's a tip for beginners. Don't just jump straight to the 4th level unless you're ready for the commitment. It's okay to master 1, 2, and 3 before stepping up. So let's recap. There are 4 levels of creative AI mastery. First one, baking mixes. Easy, but with limited control. The second one, IKEA level. Assemble it yourself with widely available tools with a tad bigger level of control. Actually, you can achieve professional results at this level. So it's not shame to stay at level 2 at all. At level 3, culinary artistry, following a recipe. So you're following recipes and adapting workflows. You're figuring out how it works here, you're learning continuously, and of course, it has even bigger level of control. And number 4, grow your own ingredients. It's about building your custom AI pipelines and training models. So this means you're becoming absolute pro. Which level are you at? Let me know in the comments. I'm actually honestly curious. No matter which level we want to stay in, we should just have this awareness of what's there, where you can aspire to get if you want, if you have these aspirations, or maybe you're at level 1 and level 2 and a really demanding project comes your way. And then you realize tools that you're using are not able to give you satisfying results. And you might say, hey, I cannot do that. Maybe it's just because you don't know that you could go to the level 3 or 4. Not knowing that there are these levels can be limiting, even without you being aware of it. I hope this roadmap gave you a little bit better overview of the possibilities of creative AI. If you're ready to level up, you can check my resources and my workshops. It's all linked below. I have definitely more videos coming up that are going to touch on all multiple levels that we mentioned. Let me know what you would like me to look into if you have any specific wishes. And yeah, stay tuned.